Before we do any presentation at Royal Roads University, it is important that we do an acknowledgement of traditional lands. Royal Roads University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Esquimalt and the Songhees ancestors and families. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. So today's session, we're going to be talking about the GC in Change Management and the GC in Workplace Innovation. With me, I have Calvin Roberts, the Associate Director of Professional and Continuing Studies. And my name is Imara Angus, and I'm an Education Advisor here. So our agenda for today, welcome and introductions. I actually have a really quick poll for everybody. So you can take a chance to look at your screen. I'm going to launch the poll. It's just a poll to get to know you a bit better here. All right, give me a thumbs up if you can see the poll, or I guess I'll see you answering the poll questions and I'll know you can see it. Awesome. So the questions of the poll, the first question is, who is in the room today? We want to know who's in the room. Are you an alumni? Are you a current student? Are you a friend of Royal Roads? Are you new to Royal Roads? Are you staff and faculty of Royal Roads, or none of the above? And if you select none of the above, please pop in the chat what the answer is, because we want to know you. And the other question in the poll is, which GC are you most interested in learning about today? Because this is a joint webinar where we're talking about two different, but there's similarities between both of these graduate certificates. So are you wanting to know about the GC in Workplace Innovation? Are you wanting to know about the GC in Change Management? Are you wanting to know about both, and that's why you're here? Or you're not sure yet and you want us to talk about them so you can decide? Okay, awesome. I'm going to give the poll 3 more seconds. If you want to launch your answer in there. Perfect. Okay, and polling, and I'm going to share the results because it's always interesting to see who's in the room. So we have about 57% of the people new to Royal Roads. Welcome. Nobody selected friend of Royal Roads. I guess that's really a vague question. You're all friends of Royal Roads, essentially. Okay, and we have 43% of people wanting to know about the GC in Change Management, with about 14% of people wanting to know about the GC in Workplace Innovation, and 36% of people wanting to know about both. Awesome, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It gives us more perspective and insight into who's here today and what you want to know about. So other things we'll be talking about today is we'll be exploring the Royal Roads University experience. We're going to be going over program information, application process and requirements, and a question and answer at the end. So I'm going to talk a bit about why explore Royal Roads University. So here at Royal Roads, we see life as a qualification, and we understand that everybody in this room is joining us from a different career and life path. And that's what makes every single one of you unique and special. And we really want to honor that here. And that's why we have our flexible admission process in addition to our standard, because we want to invite people from all different experiences into our campus. And it's really important that we know your name. Profs here, they know your name. It's important because we understand your journey is unique and we want to know your name. You're not just a student number to us here. And learning is really based on life. And we're, how we approach that is there's no like school and work, it's integrated. There's no division between learning and applying. And here at Royal Roads, we really believe in building connections for life, and we have a very strong alumni network. So it's great to see that there are some alumni here in the room, and with our cohort model, you're meeting people and you're building a network for life. And we were built differently. Here at Royal Roads, we've been teaching and learning online for 25 years. We've been leaders in that online learning platform. And I'm really excited to share more about Royal Roads with you today. Here's our space. Give me a thumbs up if you've been to campus before using the reaction feature. Great, I see a few people have been to campus. Perfect, so the top left is Hatley Castle. You might recognize it from movies such as Deadpool or X-Men. And on the top right is the bridge in our Japanese garden. And I just asked that everybody keep their microphones muted here for the best sound quality. So if I just muted you, My apologies. Top right is, the bridge and the Japanese gardens. We have beautiful gardens here. We actually have an incredibly diverse ecosystem at Royal Roads University. You can walk around hiking trails and walking trails, and you can get lost. It's such a vast campus. And then the bottom left is Esquimalt Lagoon, and you can see this from Hatley Castle, and looking down into the lagoon is a beautiful sight. Oh, and you can see it outside of Cal's window there. That's a lucky view. And then the bottom right is just a picture to demonstrate our online learning, and that we've been teaching and learning for over 25 years here at Royal Roads University. I think I jumped through a few slides. Pardon me. Oh, no, that's perfect. That's wonderful. So, Cal, I'm so pleased to welcome you up here and let you tell everyone in the room more about our programs.
Thanks, Amar. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really thankful to see that we've got such a diverse group of people who are interested in forwarding their professional career and learning with us, and exploring what options are available to them. Again, I'm a double alumni from Royal Roads. I have a communications degree from here and also a master's in learning and technology, and so there's definitely something to be said about the learning here that keeps people coming back. So I'm really thankful for all of our alumni who are on the call as well, that you're interested in coming back and learning so much more with us. If we can go to the next slide, I can talk a little bit about what professional and continuing studies does. Can I do that? Can I drive? Okay. So professional and continuing studies is a unit at the university which really focuses on short, relevant, applied programs and courses in the credit and non-credit space. So we do things like, many people have heard the word micro-credentials before. Many of them are run from us. We have PCS at royalroads.ca, which is our kind of short continuing studies suite of courses and certificates. We also work with organizations to deliver training and development and leadership programming and content on a custom basis with organizations within them. And so that's a really big part of what we do. General studies is another option that I'll talk about a little bit more when we get into the connections piece at the end of the course of program information. And really about the short-term study options, which are, thinking about the current pandemic and thinking about how much time people seem to have these days, is the ability to complete something and stack it, to complete an instance of learning and stack it onto something else in short kind of chunks rather than long-term programs, really is kind of something that people are starting to explore in many different ways now. And so those pieces are part of us as well. And of course, the topic of today, which are our graduate programs, of which we have 10. We have graduate diplomas in project management and organizational leadership. We also have 8 other graduate certificates in workplace innovation and change management that we're talking about today, but also executive coaching, project management, management and leadership, and a whole bunch of other things. So, but for today, we'll talk about the 2 programs, that workplace innovation and change management, which I think are pretty timely, given where we're all currently at. So we can move forward, I think. Right. So one of the other pieces about these programs is they're intentionally built to connect with organizations and industry. So what we mean by that is that the programs don't exist in isolation. So workplace innovation, is connected to some of the work done by the Conference Board of Canada. Obviously, with the change management program, we're a qualified educational provider by the ACMP, so that means that the curriculum has been vetted by them and it meets their standard. Our coaching program is also connected to the International Coach Federation for professional development units, and similar with the Project Management Institute as well for our PM program. So what that means is you get industry relevant kind of education and standards and best practices, not just from what Royal Roads thinks it should be, but from a bigger, broader picture. And so not just Canada-wide, but also internationally. So for those folks who are on the call from Canada, but what may work with international and a global marketplace, that the standard that you're going to learn here is the same as what it's going to be in Europe or Asia or elsewhere. So those professional affiliations also allow you for networking opportunities as well, and really a really nice add-on to the programs themselves. Okay, here we go. Where can a graduate certificate take you? Lots of places. That's true, Emira. It is very true. Both internally and externally at Royal Roads, the graduate certificates are, the duration of them is 6 to 8 months in completion, depending on when it's scheduled. But internally, you can actually use them to complete other programs and to get into other programs as well. So, for example, you can take this as a specialization of the MBA program, or transfer the credits into the MBA program itself. So you could do this first, test the waters, you get a certificate, you get an intensive applied program, but then you can use that to go elsewhere within the university. And so one of the main kind of areas where folks usually go from graduating from this program is a Master's of Interdisciplinary Studies, which really allows you to kind of customize your own master's program, and you can take the 9 credits that both these programs will give you into the MACE program and complete a master's degree. Externally, as we've talked about before, with the networking, you could use these programs and their connections, and you can network and you can build them and take them wherever you need to go, because there's a certification attached, there's credits attached. And so the networking and the community building that you get from these programs is very, very much more than the programs. And I should also point out that Lisa Murray is on the call, the lady with the links in the chat room. And so when I'm talking, she's providing the links for me. So it's almost like she knows what I'm going to say. Next slide, please. Okay, so how are the programs built? What are we doing here? Well, the programs are built, as I said, very, very intentionally based on what we saw the needs are within organizations. And so within the content itself, it's very much applied relevant content, but also it's not lecture based. This is facilitator based, and so our faculty are often associate faculty who are independent consultants in the field, who are also getting that relevant education and learning from organizations. So in the conversations that you have within the program, and the activities and the resources are all as relevant and as up to date as they possibly can be. So when you start thinking about discussion posts and what substantive posting is like in the online environment, it's you're learning from other individuals and they're learning from you too. So it's a real collaborative, cohesive kind of learning experience that students have in these programs. Again, reflective activities, real life assignments. We'll talk a little bit about those in the programs themselves. And again, the instructors and the shared knowledge is really, really critical to this piece. The average age of our learners here is probably about 30 to 40 years of age. And so, many of the folks getting into this program have some significant years of experience already. That is really, really helpful for the remaining students in the program to kind of share knowledge and connect and collaborate and really kind of build up their own shared knowledge and understanding. So this is a blended delivery. Normally, in a normal world, the residencies for the change management program would be face-to-face. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, this fall they will be delivered virtually. And there's a very good reason for that, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the investment and the time that we've spent working with faculty and working with our Center for Teaching and Educational Technologies to actually develop the online virtual residency. Was really, really successful. The evaluations told us the students had a really, really positive experience. And with technology being the way it is these days, we're able to actually replicate the virtual or the face-to-face components of the residency in a really seamless way that students really had a great experience. And so, given the uncertainties around the fall and what's going to happen there, we've decided to keep the campus, the residency virtual. Workplace innovation doesn't have that issue. It's all online. So its intention was to be scalable and portable. And so for folks accessing that program from anywhere, you don't have to have a residency. You can learn online as you want to. Workplace innovation, who is it for? Well, it's for anyone. It's for anybody out there who goes into an organization and really sees a gap in the creative process, or wants to improve the organization and inspire positive change. So we've really set up this program to talk about, and both programs to be fair, about if you think of the structure of self, others, and organizations. So we set up the program itself with learning about, I guess we can go to the next slide. Really about how you show up as a creative person yourself, and some of the creativity pieces and confidence in the first course, and then moving into the innovation tools and processes within an organization. So really, this is about intrapreneurial learning. And so, we bring these tools, some processes, some strategies, some tips in the second course. And then in the third course is really where the rubber hits the road. It's the so what, now what. And so you as a person who's shown up as in innovation, you're armed with all these tools and processes and strategies and implementation. And so when WINV 690, that's your opportunity to actually go into an organization that maybe the one you're working for, maybe not the one you're working for, maybe it's a not-for-profit, or maybe it's something that you're connected to, and actually really apply the learning in a meaningful innovation assignment. And so, that's really the best part of the learning that we see in this program is the culmination of all of the learning leading into WINV 690 and that application of the creative process and innovation process and the lessons learned from it. So, we hear from students all the time who have graduated that the way that this program is set up is the right way. They really get a lot from it. But also there's the ability in the program itself to take the courses as general studies. So you don't necessarily have to take them in a linear way. You could take WINV 690 and come back and take WINV 685 and 560 at a different time. So in a sense, yes, we recommend that you take them in a linear kind of program, but there's also an opportunity for folks who may not necessarily have the time or commitment to be able to go into a full program to use the general studies option as a way forward into this program. And moving on to the graduate certificate in change management. Of course, change management is a hot topic. It has been for years, but I think more so now because of the pandemic and shifting how organizations work, shifting how people work, shifting what all of the upcoming trends in AI and all of these factors that are coming into how organizations represent themselves. Change is constant, and so this program itself really again talks about first of all how you show up as a change leader. What are the foundations of change management? What are the theories behind it? What are the impacts? And moving into more so around tools and change management strategies and planning and implementation pieces. And then finally, again, very similar to the workplace innovation program, moving into organizations and looking at what change readiness looks like, assessing an organization's readiness for change, the impact of change within it, and then moving through some activities and real projects to implement the change plan. So for me, this program is interesting because it's about organizations, but it's also about people as well. And people obviously you can have tools and processes, but it's really the people that are impacted the most, and that's really what this is all about in connection to the project management. Interesting question, Alex. ProSci have their own tools and processes, and their way of moving forward. It's certainly an interesting organization. The possible differences between the two. I mean, I'd have to go through the standards, but there are many different ways of implementing a change plan. Their focus is on their own framework. We follow the ACMP framework. Really, there's no one way, and no one way would apply to every organization. And so, we can certainly have that conversation offline if you'd like to, and I'm happy to have a conversation about the differences between ProSci and ACMP. Next slide, please. So again, we've basically talked about the courses and what the content is. Again, the biggest part of change management is how do you know it's successful? What does the success look like? What are the metrics? And so the advanced models and methodologies of measurement is again where the rubber hits the road with respect to the content. And so that's a really critical piece of it. And again, the general studies option does apply here too, so for those folks who are interested in taking smaller chunks rather than the program as a whole. Next slide. I'm going to have some water and turn it over to Amara, but I welcome your questions in the chat box, and I look forward to having a conversation about these programs once we've completed here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cal. Awesome. So now that you know a bit more about both of the programs, we're going to go into the how to apply side of things. So as I mentioned earlier, at Royal Roads University, we have both standard admission and flexible admission. So I'm going to talk about the admission requirements for the GC and workplace innovation. All of our GCs have slightly different admission requirements. You'll notice similarities. So I've divided them up separately so that we can keep that, that all straight. So what I have here is the standard admission for the GC and workplace innovation, completion of either an undergraduate 4-year or comparable degree or a graduate degree in arts, business, or environmental studies, or other acceptable alternatives from a recognized post-secondary institution, and normally at least 2 years of relevant full-time work experience in leadership, management, communication, training, marketing, or consultant roles. And that's our standard admission. For flexible admission, to be considered for flexible admission, applicants would normally require at least 5 years of extensive relevant work experience and some post-secondary education. And something that we always really want to emphasize is reach out to us, connect with enrollment. If you're not sure if you apply through the standard or the flexible, or if your experience is enough to get into the program, reach out. Don't self-select out, because we do it assess every single individual on a case-by-case basis. So connect with us if you have any questions. And Lisa, who's in the chat, is also very knowledgeable about both the standard and flexible admission. So the admission requirements for the graduate certificate in change management, the standard admissions is completion of either an undergraduate 4-year comparable degree or a graduate degree in a related field from a recognized post-secondary institution, with normally at least 3 years of relevant full-time work experience. And the flexible admission, to be considered for this, applicants would normally be required to have at least 5 full-time years of extensive relevant work experience and some post-secondary education. So how to apply? There's an online application, and you sign up with your email address, and it costs $126.28. We can round that up or round that down, whichever one you prefer. And supporting documents, we do require official transcripts. So what we mean by official transcripts is the submission of transcripts from all post-secondary currently or previously attended. And for it to be considered official, it does need to be submitted by the registrar or the recognized authority at the institution in the original sealed envelope. And the personal statement, there's lots of information about the full details on the website, and I always recommend checking out the website, but an overview of personal statement, it's essentially your why. Why are you applying for this program? What will this program do for you in your future career? Why do you think you're a good fit? And you'll talk about this in your personal statement, and it's usually around 1 page. And a detailed resume. So this is beyond that resume that you use for a job application of 1 to 2 pages. Your detailed resume will be more comprehensive than that. And it will include things like your education, your professional experience in detail, and any voluntary or unpaid work experience, any professional memberships or affiliations that you're part of, your experience with information technology, and like your training using different online tools, as well as any other relevant information. And your 2 letters of reference. So here's a pro tip. For your 2 letters of reference, you do want to share, if you can, your personal statement with the person writing those letters, because then they can understand your why, and then they can best emphasize your why and why you're a good fit for the program. And we expect the letters of reference to confirm that you are a suitable candidate for the program. And in those letters of reference, we do ask that they mention how they know you. So whether it's through professional, academic, volunteer, how that reference knows you. And if applicable, an English language proficiency score. There's more details on the website about this as well. And demonstration of academic writing skills. And if needed, taking the 8-week academic writing and critical thinking skills course. So here are the key dates for the upcoming intake for the GC and Workplace Innovation. The start date is October 18th, 2021, which is coming up really quickly here. And the application deadline is July 18th, 2021. For the GC and Change Management, the start date is September 7th, 2021, with the application deadline of June 7th, 2021.
Mara, it should also probably be noted that that June 7th deadline is coming up, but that's the apply by date. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have all of the documentation in on that date. It's just the starting point of the application. So for those folks who need to get transcripts and letters of reference and all those good things, then that's I'm hopeful that you can start your application, but not necessarily have to complete it before June 7th.
Thank you. And financial aid as well. We have financial aid and award specialists who are so knowledgeable in navigating resources and financial aid and awards available. So I highly recommend checking out their website, and you can set an appointment to connect and reach out with them. There are different support available. And here's all their information on the slide there for you. And application as a support, as I mentioned earlier, our enrollment advisors are here to help you and help you find the right program, the right fit for you, help kind of look at your experience and see what's suitable for you. And they are available to answer any questions. So definitely connect out to an enrollment advisor. I have their information here for you. So if you're a Canadian student, the enrollment or the Canadian student, the enrollment advisor's information is learn.more@royalroads.ca. And if you're coming internationally, the email address is learn.more.international@royalroads.ca. I definitely recommend reaching out. And now we're jumping into our questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. I'm going to have a look at the chat, and then where you can answer some questions. And if you have any that come up, just pop them in the chat and we'll get to them. I know one question that I was submitted in advance that I'll ask you, Cal, is what is the weekly time commitment for these programs, and can I still work while attending?
Yes, absolutely, you can. They were built with working professionals in mind, and so we tend to say that it's on average about 10 to 15 hours per week of learner effort. But it depends on the week, and it depends on the assignment, but it also depends on how you show up as a learner, because everybody learns in different ways and has different timing. So you may be a student who loves to post and loves to have conversations and chats and all sorts of things and reads all the resources. Some people may not have time for that. So it really depends on how you show up as a learner, but as a general rule, 10 to 15 hours per week is what it's about, and certainly manageable. I would say that 99% of the folks in our programs are working at the time of taking it.
Can you speak to what the process would be if the GC is completed, then a student applies for a Royal Roads University MBA?
Yes, absolutely. So normally what happens is if you complete the program and the certification, you have met all the requirements. You would then apply to the MBA program, and then once accepted, apply the transfer credits into it. That is the process. We hope that we can expedite that as quickly as possible, because you have all of your credentials and pieces here. So we really try to make it as streamlined as possible.
And actually, I have a really quick question for the people in the room. If you could give me a thumbs up if you attended our MBA webinar a few weeks ago, because I'm wondering, we did talk about this session coming up, and I mentioned that you should definitely come to it to learn more about our grad certs because of the MBA. So I see thank you, Alex. I see a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. That's great. Okay, and another question we have is, I'm curious how this might relate to design thinking, if design thinking is one of the tool sets. I'm also curious if how to lead innovation within the workplace is also covered.
Yes and yes. The answer for workplace innovation is design thinking is a very, I would say, one of the key activities in the first course itself, but then also applied in the second, because you'll be doing applied projects. And so design thinking really is about model and prototyping and human-centered design pieces as well. And so rather than kind of the waterfall technique. And so yes, very much human-centered design is a key component of this. And then also the conversations about really, we can teach you all of the innovative tools and processes that we can, but again, the most important part is how you apply it within an organization. So lots of conversations about organizations' readiness, how do you apply it, what might be the barriers, those kinds of things. So lots of conversations are embedded and activities are embedded into the courses.
Okay, I have another question here, and some of the questions I'm going back between questions that people submitted in advance when they registered for the webinar, and then I'm going back to the chat as well. So I'm just going to kind of alternate. A question that we had submitted earlier is, I was wondering what portion of the courses are synchronous, recordings, or learn at your own pace. Is there ever anyone based in other countries in either certificate program? I'm located in Germany, and I'm wondering how I would be able to take part in the program with a 9-hour time difference from Victoria.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a mix of both. They're blended. So there will be synchronous sessions, and normally those are worked out with the faculty and students within each course to see how that's going to work. Obviously, with a time difference like that, that would be a conversation with faculty and students and get a consensus of what works. Normally, what happens is the webinars and synchronous sessions are recorded, and if there's team-based activities, then it's the team will come together and work out what time works for them to be able to connect.
Great, thank you. And so we have another question that is, would we be applying the material to our current job during the program, or would we be applying the material to a hypothetical project?
Well, the hope is that folks are working within organizations and they can apply it directly to the one that they're working within. For some people, that may necessarily pose a challenge because they're not working, they don't have an organization to work for, they're self-employed, those kinds of things. And so, the faculty would work with that individual to come up with some a way of demonstrating competency and assessment of learning in a way that aligns with the program outcomes, but might be a little bit different. So it's all individual based, which is another really great part of the program. Is you're going through this on a case by case basis in some ways, and so your situation is different from the person next to you.
Another question we have here is, does Royal Roads University have an accommodation policy specifically for students with learning disabilities?
Yes, it does. We have a full range of accessibility services, resources available that would be able to have a conversation about, for sure. And I would say, it's a great question, because one of the pieces that I think was really helpful for my learning experience at the university was that, again, you're not here by yourself. There is a whole team of people who are here to support you, from financial aid, accessibility services, student services do a fabulous job, not just in the pandemic, but throughout the entire time I've been at the university. Student services are phenomenal resources to have for all sorts of reasons. And so my expectation is that whatever challenges may be impacting you, we would be supporting you for sure.
Great. We have a lot of great questions. So thank you, everyone. Keep them coming. It's really great to see. I have another question here that was submitted in advance, and it's, is there any organization partner work involved? For example, will we need to seek out an organization to complete the certificate?
Well, again, very similar to the last question, which is, there's not explicitly, an organization involved. It's not necessarily going to be what you must work with organization X. It's very much kind of emergent. And on a case-by-case basis. The hope is that you're working with an organization that you're already in, but that may not necessarily, for a variety of reasons, be possible. If there's security involved, if there's risk involved, all those kinds of things. And so, we try to manage those on an individual basis.
Okay, I'm scanning the chat. I don't see any new questions coming in. I'll give it a few more seconds if anybody has any last minute questions to pop in the chat. And I think we've come to the end of our questions that were submitted in advance. Cal, is there anything else you'd like to share with the people in the room about the programs, or any final words?
I've had lots of coffee, so I've got lots of words. But as someone who is trying to manage work and life and pivoting in the pandemic and everything else, the nice thing is, what I found in our programs is that you're coming into the program because you've identified a need in your own personal journey that this is the right program for you. With graduate certificates, you are provided with a relevant, applied timely content and programming that really will help you succeed. Learn today, apply tomorrow, kind of. And so I found that really, really helpful. I really find that that's a huge benefit of these graduate certificates, because they are short, but they are intensive, but they are relevant. And then you can stack them. You can add them onto other things at the university. You can go forward. So the flexibility and portability for me is really a really great feature of these graduate certificates.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we do a lot of different sessions at Royal Roads, and I'm going to pop in the chat an upcoming webinar that people in the room might be interested in. It's Creating Systemic Change, Integrating Systems Thinking, and Indigenous Wisdom webinar. And it's at the end of the month, and I highly recommend everyone here to attend. It's going to be really unique. It's hosted by the School of Business, but as mentioned earlier, we do a lot of collaboration with the School of Business with our GCs
and Patrick O'Neill, who's hosting that, is also a faculty member of our Management Leadership Certificate, graduate certificate.
Awesome. I already see that somebody signed up and looking forward to it. So thank you everyone today for joining us for this session. It was great to meet all of you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help. We're here to support you, and look forward to connecting all again.